Have you ever wondered how tall you really are? Or how long your favorite toy is? A tape measure can tell you. In this video, we're going to learn how to read the numbers and lines on a tape measure. We'll practice measuring real things like toys, pets, and even you. When we're done, you'll know exactly how to measure anything you want. Welcome to Goalie's PIP Academy. So let's start by getting to know our tape measure. Pull out the metal strip from inside. See how it slides out? That metal strip is covered with numbers and lines, and those numbers and lines are like a secret code that tells us how long things are. Now, look closely at the tape measure. Do you see the numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. These numbers are super important. Each number tells us how many inches we're measuring. An inch is a way to measure length, kind of like how we use feet to measure how tall we are. But inches are smaller than feet. In fact, 12 inches equals 1 foot. Let's look at the 0. That's where everything starts. 0 means we haven't measured anything yet. It's like the starting line of a race. Then we have 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, and the numbers keep going up and up. The bigger the number, the longer the thing we're measuring. But what about all those lines between the numbers? Well, those lines are there to help us measure even more carefully. The biggest line between each number is right in the middle. That's the half-inch mark. So between 0 and 1, that big line in the middle means 1/2 inch. Between 1 and 2, that big line means 1.5 inches. Pretty cool, right? Think of it like cutting a sandwich in half. If you have one whole sandwich and you cut it down the middle, each piece is half a sandwich. The tape measure works the same way. All right, let's see how much you've learned so far. Multiple choice question. What do the numbers on a tape measure tell us? A, how heavy it is. B, how hot it is. C, how many inches long it is. D, what time it is. Think about it for a second. What's your answer? The correct answer is C, how many inches long it is. Great job! The numbers tell us the length in inches. They don't tell us weight or temperature or time, just length.
Hey, you're watching Goalie's PIP Academy, where we teach about science, geography, history, everything about the whole world. If you want to watch these classes with no ads, no distractions, go to getgoalie.com.
Now that we know what the numbers mean, let's learn how to actually measure something. This is where it gets really fun, because we're going to measure real objects. First rule of measuring, always start at 0. Remember how we said 0 is like the starting line? Well, you need to line up the 0 with one end of whatever you're measuring. This is super important. If you don't start at 0, your measurement won't be right. Let me show you how this works. Let's say we want to measure a toy car. First, we find the 0 on our tape measure. Then, we put that 0 right at the front bumper of the car, where the car starts. We make sure it's lined up perfectly. Then, we pull the tape measure along the car all the way to the back bumper, where the car ends. Now, look at where the back of the car lines up with the tape measure. What number is it touching? Let's say it's touching the number 5. That means our toy car is 5 inches long. Easy, right? But what if the car doesn't end exactly on a number? What if it ends between 4 and 5? Well, look for that big line we talked about, the half-inch mark. If the car ends right on that big line between 4 and 5, then our car is 4.5 inches long. Here's a helpful tip. Keep the tape measure straight. Don't let it bend or curve while you're measuring. If the tape measure is wobbly or twisted, your measurement won't be accurate. Hold it nice and flat against whatever you're measuring. Also, make sure you're looking at the tape measure straight on, not from an angle. If you look at it from the side, it might look like it's at a different number than it really is. Get your eyes right over the measurement so you can see it clearly. Let's try another example. Imagine we want to measure a book. We take our tape measure and put the 0 at the left edge of the book. Then we stretch the tape measure across to the right edge. The right edge lines up with the number 8. That book is 8 inches wide. Let's see if you remember the first rule of measuring. Multiple choice question. When measuring a toy, where should you line up the 0 on your tape measure? A, at the end. B, at the start. C, in the middle. D, anywhere. What do you think? Where does the 0 go? The answer is B, at the start. You always put the 0 at the beginning of whatever you're measuring, not the end, not the middle, and definitely not just anywhere. Great work. Now let's talk about measuring some really fun stuff. This is where measuring becomes an adventure. You can measure all kinds of things you love. Let's start with toys. Put your stuffed animal on a table. Put the 0 of your tape measure at the bottom and pull it up to the very top of its head. That's how tall it is. You can also measure your action figures or toy cars. Which one is the longest? Measure and find out. Now let's talk about measuring your pet. If you have a dog or a cat, you can measure how long they are from their nose to the tip of their tail. This might be tricky because pets like to move around, so you might need to wait until they're resting quietly. Be gentle and don't scare your pet. You can also measure how tall your pet is when they're standing up. Sports equipment is another awesome thing to measure. Measure your baseball bat, your basketball, or even your bike. You can measure how long your bike is from the front wheel to the back wheel, or how tall the handlebars are. And here's one of the most exciting things. You can measure yourself. Stand up straight against a wall. Have a grown-up put a book on top of your head and measure from the floor to the book. That tells you how tall you are. You can even make a growth chart and measure yourself every few months to see how much you've grown. You can also measure your foot or your hand. Let's do one more quiz to make sure you've got it. True or false? You can use a tape measure to find out how tall you are. Is that true or false? What do you think? The answer is true. Yes, you absolutely can use a tape measure to find out how tall you are. You just need someone to help you measure from the floor to the top of your head. Awesome job. Measuring is actually a superpower when you think about it. When you know how to measure, you can answer so many questions. Is this box big enough for my toy? Will this shirt fit me? How much space do I need for my project? Measuring helps you figure all of that out. And the more you practice with your tape measure, the better you'll get. You'll start to learn how long an inch really is. You'll be able to look at something and guess how long it might be, and then measure it to see if you were right. That's called estimating, and it's a really useful skill. Remember, measuring is fun, it's useful, and now you know how to do it like a pro. You've learned how to read the numbers and lines on a tape measure. Great job today. Now go grab that tape measure and start measuring your world. You've got this.
My mind is blown. Where can I learn more about these videos? Oh yeah, getgoalie.com. There's no ads, there's no junk, just cool stuff for kids and a dedicated tablet. Check it out, getgoalie.com.